Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to stop for a moment and think about the most important person in your life. Who comes to mind? Your friend, your mentor, your partner? No, the person you need to focus on is you. Right now, this very moment, you are standing in front of the most powerful tool you will ever have in your life, yourself. The problem is not the world outside. The problem is that you have not fully recognized the potential that exists inside of you. Believing in yourself is not a suggestion. It is a requirement. The world will tell you who you are not. Your critics, your colleagues, even some of your family might try to define you by limitations, by your past, by your failures. But listen closely. The only voice that matters is the one that says, I can, I will, I am able. You must understand this. Your life is like a canvas and your mind is the brush. If you do not believe in your hand, you will never paint the masterpiece that you were born to create. The journey of success, happiness, and fulfillment starts with a single decision. The decision to believe in you. I want you to imagine a young person afraid to try, afraid to fail, paralyzed by doubt. Now imagine that same person who wakes up one day and whispers to their own heart, I believe in me. Suddenly, doors that were closed begin to open. Opportunities that seemed unreachable begin to appear. Strength emerges from deep within because belief is the fuel that ignites action. When you believe in yourself, fear loses its grip. Hesitation turns into momentum, and ordinary moments transform into extraordinary achievements. Most people wait for external validation. They want someone else to tell them, you are good enough. But the truth is, waiting for someone else's approval is a waste of your life. If you are waiting for someone to believe in you, you will wait forever. The moment you decide to believe in yourself, the universe starts responding to your courage. You see, the power to change your life has never been outside of you. It has always been within. Believing in yourself also means embracing your mistakes. Failure is not the enemy. In fact, it is the teacher. When you stumble, when you fall, do not curse the ground. Stand up and say, I will rise, I will learn, I will grow. Every great achievement in human history began with someone who refused to give up on themselves. Every leader, inventor, and innovator succeeded because they chose to believe in their own ability when no one else did. You cannot give what you do not have. If you do not believe in you, you cannot lead, inspire, or empower others. Your influence starts with confidence in your own potential. When you walk into a room fully convinced of your value, people feel it. They respect it. They are drawn to it. Belief is magnetic. It is contagious. It is the spark that sets the world on fire with your vision. So many of us waste our lives comparing ourselves to others, thinking that someone else has something we lack. But I want you to stop right now and recognize this truth. You are uniquely created with gifts, talents, and abilities that no one else possesses. The sooner you acknowledge this, the sooner you unlock doors that have been waiting for your courage to enter. Believing in yourself is not arrogance. It is awareness. It is knowing that you were designed to fulfill a purpose that is bigger than your fears. It is understanding that your potential is greater than your problems, your doubts, or your circumstances. When you believe in yourself, you stop making excuses and start making progress. You stop seeking permission and start taking ownership. You stop hesitating and start executing. Remember, the world will try to limit you with labels, judgments, and skepticism. Ignore them. The only label that matters is the one you give yourself. When you declare, I am capable, I am worthy, I am enough, nothing can stop you. Nothing can take away the power of a determined mind fueled by self-belief. And finally, believe in yourself because your life depends on it. If you do not, someone else will define your story for you, and it might be a story you do not want to live. Take control. Take ownership. Take action. Be your biggest advocate. Champion your own dreams. Empower your own potential. Stand tall, speak boldly, and remind yourself every single day, I am more than enough. I am capable, and I will rise. This is not just a speech. This is a call to arms. A call to courage. A call to unlock the incredible power that is already inside you. Today, you must decide, will you live in doubt, or will you step into belief? Will you allow fear to control your life, or will you embrace the unstoppable force of self-confidence? Believe in you because your dreams, your purpose, and your greatness are waiting for nothing less. Self-belief is the foundation of all success. It is the invisible force that separates those who achieve from those who merely dream. Imagine waking up every morning, staring into the mirror and asking yourself, do I truly believe in me? The answer to that question will determine the trajectory of your day, your career, and ultimately your life. Self-belief is not about arrogance or pretending to be more than you are. It is about recognizing the potential that already exists within you, waiting to be unleashed. Every small achievement, every major breakthrough begins with the simple conviction that you are capable, that you are worthy, and that you can overcome whatever stands in your way. When you wake up believing in yourself, your mind begins to see opportunities instead of obstacles. Consider the story of a young person learning to ride a bicycle for the first time. At first, fear grips them. They wobble, they fall, they get bruises, and the voices around them echo doubt. You can't do it. Some might say, and even their own thoughts scream, what if I fail again? But then something magical happens. A small voice within whispers, I can do this. I will not let fear define me. That is self-belief. With that quiet determination, the child climbs back on the bike, pedals again, and finally rides without support. The skill was always possible, but without belief, it would have remained a dream. The same principle applies to every aspect of life. Every skill, every talent, every success you aspire to achieve requires that internal conviction that you are capable. Self-belief fuels persistence. It is what keeps a student studying late at night when the world is asleep, dreaming of a future that others may not understand. It is what drives the entrepreneur who has faced countless rejections, but wakes up every morning ready to pitch again, ready to innovate, ready to prove to themselves that they have what it takes. The key is not perfection, the key is belief. Belief allows you to embrace failure not as a reflection of your worth, but as a stepping stone toward mastery. It is the difference between someone who gives up after the first attempt and someone who keeps moving forward, who turns setbacks into lessons, and who ultimately achieves greatness. Look around in daily life. Consider the chef in a small kitchen experimenting with new recipes, believing that one day their creation will delight hundreds, even thousands. Consider the young mother learning to balance work, family, and her dreams, trusting that she can provide, nurture, and grow herself simultaneously. Consider the office worker who spends hours improving their skills, knowing deep inside that promotion is not about luck, but about consistent belief in their ability to perform and contribute. Self-belief is what transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary achievements. Without it, talent becomes dormant, potential remains unrealized, and dreams fade into forgotten thoughts. Self-belief also shapes the way you interact with the world. When you believe in yourself, you carry a sense of calm confidence. People notice it, they are drawn to it. A simple example is a teacher walking into a classroom, believing that they can make a difference in the lives of every student. That belief translates into patience, dedication, and inspiration. Students respond not just because of the teacher's knowledge, but because of the belief that they themselves can learn, grow, and succeed. Self-belief is contagious. It spreads quietly, touching everyone around you, creating environments where achievement is possible and encouraged. In daily life, self-belief is the reason why some people can stand up after financial ruin, personal loss, or societal rejection and rebuild themselves stronger than ever. They do not wait for others to lift them, they lift themselves. They do not rely solely on circumstances to improve. They rely on the unshakable conviction within them that they are capable of changing their reality. You see, self-belief is not passive. It is active. It is a decision, a choice, and a commitment to refuse limitation. It is waking up each morning and saying, I have what it takes and I will make it happen. Even when the world doubts you, even when the path seems unclear, even when failure seems inevitable. Consider the athlete running early morning miles, long before anyone else is awake, believing that every step brings them closer to victory. Consider the writer staring at a blank page, refusing to quit until the story that lives inside their heart is told. Consider the young person applying for a dream job, sending dozens of applications, and facing rejection after rejection, yet returning each day to try again, fueled by belief in their own ability. These are ordinary people who have achieved extraordinary results because they refuse to allow doubt to dictate their limits. They understood that the foundation of success is not skill alone, not luck alone, not even opportunity alone. It is the unwavering belief in one's own capacity to grow, to learn, to persist, and to achieve. Self-belief turns dreams into plans and plans into action. It removes the invisible chains of insecurity and self-doubt. It is what allows a person to leave a toxic relationship, start a new business, move to a new city, or speak up in a meeting when every fiber of their being says, "You are not ready." Belief whispers back, "You are ready," and you can handle this. It is the voice that tells you to try one more time, to keep going when everything inside screams stop, and to trust that the outcome is possible because the journey is powered by your conviction. The greatest leaders, inventors, artists, and innovators of our time share one thing in common. They first believed in themselves before the world ever did. They faced doubt, ridicule, and rejection, but their self-belief kept them moving forward. The painter who stayed up nights perfecting every brushstroke, the engineer who refused to accept failure, the student who studied beyond what was required, the young entrepreneur who risked everything. All of them succeeded because they understood that belief is the foundation of all success, and without it, nothing else matters. Every morning, when you face your own reflection, ask yourself the hard questions. Do I trust my abilities? Do I honor my potential? Do I believe that I am capable of achieving what I dream of, even when the path is unclear? Self-belief is not optional. It is the lifeline to every goal, every aspiration, and every purpose. It is the force that turns ordinary individuals into remarkable human beings, the catalyst that turns dreams into reality, and the secret that separates those who succeed from those who watch life happen to others. So many people spend their entire lives chasing the approval of others, trying to collect compliments, likes, promotions, or recognition as if their worth depends on it. They wake up every morning and ask, did they notice me? Do they like me? Am I enough in their eyes? But the truth is, external validation is fleeting. It is as temporary as the applause that fades the moment the performance ends. The promotion that feels like triumph today can be gone tomorrow. The praise from a friend, a colleague, or a family member can vanish with a simple disagreement or a changed circumstance. When we rely on these external affirmations to define who we are, we hand over the power of our lives to other people, and nothing that depends on someone else's perception is permanent or reliable. Consider a young woman who posts a photo online and waits for hundreds of likes. For a few hours, she feels joy, pride, and confidence, but when the likes stop, so does her sense of worth. She has tied her happiness and self-esteem to external reactions that she cannot control. Imagine how exhausting life becomes when you measure yourself against everyone else's opinion. Now consider another woman who wakes up every morning and reminds herself, I am capable, I am enough, I am valuable, not because anyone says it, but because I know it. Her confidence does not fluctuate with the comments of strangers, the criticism of coworkers, or the praise of friends. She moves through life anchored in a belief that comes from within, unshakable and permanent. This internal belief is the real foundation of self-esteem, success, and peace. Look at the student who studies not to impress a teacher, but because they know their own mind is capable of learning, mastering, and growing. Their motivation is internal, not external. When exams are graded, it does not shake their value. When people doubt them, it does not diminish their effort. Internal belief is permanent because it does not depend on others to affirm it. It is cultivated in the quiet moments of discipline, persistence, and self-reflection. It is forged when you trust yourself to keep going, even when the world does not notice or acknowledge your work. Think about the artist painting in a small studio, far from fame or recognition. Every brushstroke is an act of self-expression, and every piece is created because the artist believes in their own vision, not because someone else is watching. The first time someone praises their work, it is sweet, but when the praise stops, the artist continues to create not for others, but because they believe in the value of their own creativity. The permanence of internal belief allows people to persist, to produce, and to shine regardless of temporary applause or criticism. Even in the workplace, external validation can be unreliable. A boss might praise an employee one day and criticize them the next. Co-workers may support them at times and exclude them at others. The key difference between someone who thrives and someone who struggles is not talent alone, but whether their confidence is rooted in themselves or in fluctuating external feedback. When you anchor your value in internal belief, you can navigate life's highs and lows with grace. A missed promotion does not define your ability. A colleague's jealousy does not reduce your skill. Your worth, driven by internal conviction, remains intact, constant, and powerful. Consider everyday dialogue we hear and even participate in. I hope they like my idea. Did my presentation impress them? I wonder what they think of me. These thoughts trap people in a cycle of dependence on temporary validation. Now contrast that with someone who says, I know the work I did is valuable. I trust my ability. I know my vision matters. The difference is monumental. The first person lives in anxiety, fear, and instability. The second person lives with freedom, confidence, and empowerment. Internal belief liberates the mind from the tyranny of others' opinions. Look at parents raising children. If a child learns to behave well only for praise, their good actions vanish when no one is watching. But if a child is taught to understand their own standards, to value themselves and their choices, they develop a confidence that cannot be shaken by temporary recognition. They act rightly, not for applause, but because they know who they are. This is the same principle for adults. The permanence of internal belief comes from understanding and accepting your intrinsic value, independent of what the world says. Even in relationships, people seek validation from their partners. Compliments, attention, reassurance. When these external affirmations are missing, insecurity grows. Imagine instead if both individuals carried strong internal belief, knowing their own worth and purpose. The relationship becomes stronger, not because of constant reassurance, but because each person brings self-confidence and stability into the union. External praise becomes a bonus, not a lifeline, because internal belief is constant, reliable, and resilient. Internal belief also allows people to take risks. Consider an entrepreneur launching a business that no one else believes in. Friends may doubt, family may criticize, society may scoff. Yet the entrepreneur's belief in their own idea fuels persistence. The product may fail, but the experience, courage, and knowledge gained cannot be taken away. External validation could never provide the same lasting empowerment because it is dependent on others. Internal belief creates an unshakable foundation that drives action, creativity, and growth. Even small daily moments reveal this truth. When you decide to speak up in a meeting, not for applause, but because your ideas have value, when you choose to pursue a goal that excites your soul, even if others doubt it, when you continue learning, growing, and improving for your own satisfaction, you are practicing internal belief. The permanence of this mindset allows you to navigate life with purpose and resilience. It ensures that your confidence does not rise and fall with the opinions of the world, but remains anchored in a deep understanding of your own worth and capability. Internal belief is permanent because it comes from within, nurtured by reflection, experience, and discipline. External validation is temporary because it depends on forces beyond your control. People's moods, societal trends, fleeting opinions. The moment you understand this, your life changes. You stop seeking approval. You stop comparing yourself. You stop living for the applause of others. And you begin living from a place of authenticity, courage, and unshakable confidence. The young person learning to code, the writer typing at midnight, the athlete training before dawn, the parent teaching a child to stand on their own 2 feet. All of them discover that the only validation worth seeking is the one that comes from themselves. It is permanent, reliable, and empowering. Many people carry the weight of their past failures as if it defines them. They walk through life with the invisible chains of regret, disappointment, and shame. They replay old mistakes over and over, believing that because they have fallen before, they are destined to fall again. But what if I told you that your potential is far greater than anything you have ever failed at? What if I told you that your past failures are not the measure of your capacity, but simply markers that show you where you have grown, where you have learned, and where you are ready to rise even higher than before? Imagine a student who failed a major exam. The first instinct is to see it as proof of inability, to say, I am not good enough, I cannot do this. But that is a lie we tell ourselves. The student has all the tools, all the capacity, all the potential to master the subject. The failure is not the ceiling, it is a lesson. It teaches them what to focus on, where to improve, and how to approach the problem differently. The failure becomes the foundation upon which they build greater skill, deeper understanding, and resilience that no success alone could teach. This is how potential exceeds past failure. Failure is temporary, potential is enduring. Consider a young athlete who loses an important game. The scoreboard reads defeat, the crowd whispers disappointment, and the mind wants to quit. But inside there is a spark that says, this is not the end of my story, this is the beginning of my strength. The athlete goes back to training, practicing longer, pushing harder, refining every skill that led to the loss. Months later, victory comes not because the loss disappeared, but because the potential within them was always greater than the setback. Your past failures cannot cage what you are capable of achieving tomorrow. In daily life, we see examples all around us. A single parent who struggled to provide for their children, facing job loss, financial pressure. and social judgment may feel like a failure. But when they rise, find a new path, start a small business, or return to school, they demonstrate that their potential to succeed, to thrive, and to create abundance exceeds every struggle they have endured. The past did not diminish them. It prepared them to reach higher levels of success, resilience, and wisdom that would not exist without the challenges they faced. Even in relationships, people carry past heartbreaks as if they are permanent scars. A failed friendship or a broken romantic relationship can make someone hesitant to trust again, hesitant to love again. But the truth is, the heart has a capacity to heal, to grow, and to love in ways far beyond what was lost. The past may have hurt, but your potential for joy, for connection, for meaningful relationships is far greater than any pain you have experienced. You cannot let the echoes of failure dictate the song of your future. Listen to the dialogue that often happens in our minds. I tried and failed, so I must not be capable. Imagine if Thomas Edison had thought this way after thousands of failed attempts at creating the light bulb. Each failure was a lesson, not a condemnation. Each mistake revealed what did not work, bringing him closer to the invention that changed the world. The potential inside him was always greater than any single experiment that failed. Your life works the same way. Every misstep, every mistake, every failure is simply information, a guide to show you the direction in which your potential is waiting to be fulfilled. Consider the young entrepreneur whose first business collapsed. The bills piled up, the investors doubted, and the critics laughed. The natural response is to surrender to the fear of failure. Yet, those who succeed do not give up. They adapt, innovate, and create something new, understanding that the lessons learned in failure are the fuel for future achievement. The capacity to succeed is built, strengthened, and revealed through experiences of falling, and the potential to rise exceeds any moment of defeat. Even in small daily victories, this principle holds. A cook who burned a meal learns to adjust the recipe. A writer who receives rejection letters revises their manuscript. A student who performs poorly on one assignment studies differently next time. These moments of perceived failure are temporary. The potential within each individual to improve, to grow, and to achieve is permanent. Every failure is a teacher, every setback a stepping stone, and every disappointment a signpost pointing toward your untapped capability. Your potential is also greater because it cannot be measured by other people's standards. Someone may call you a failure because you did not achieve in the time they expected, because you did not meet their definition of success, or because your journey looks different from theirs. But your potential is unique, built into your skills, your experiences, and your passions. The moment you understand that your value and your ability are not limited by your past failures, you unlock doors that you didn't even know existed. You begin to act with courage, knowing that what is inside you is far more powerful than anything that happened before. Consider the teacher who failed to inspire one class, but finds a different way and transforms the next group of students. The musician who failed to impress a local audience, but continues practicing and eventually plays to a stadium of thousands. The coder whose first app failed in the market, but uses the lessons learned to create a product that changes lives. Every one of these examples demonstrates that failure is only a chapter, not the entire story, and that your potential stretches far beyond any single setback. Your past does not define your future. Each failure is a point of reference, not a destination. The potential that resides inside you is always waiting to be tapped, waiting to be expressed, waiting to surpass anything you have experienced before. When you decide to focus on your ability rather than your mistakes, on your growth rather than your regrets, on your purpose rather than your past, you start a journey that no failure can stop, no doubt can shake, and no circumstance can limit. Fears, one of the most powerful forces in human life. It can paralyze a person, steal opportunities, and silence dreams. It whispers lies into the mind saying, you cannot do this. You are not ready. What if you fail? Fear shows up in every area of life, in relationships, in careers, in education, in personal growth. It lurks in the shadows of ambition, waiting for a moment when doubt overpowers courage. Yet there is a force far stronger than fear, and that force is belief. When your belief in yourself, your purpose, and your potential is strong, fear loses its grip. It becomes a faint voice, barely noticeable against the roar of your confidence. Consider a young person about to give their first public speech. Their heart races, their palms sweat, and their mind fills with images of embarrassment and failure. Fear seems insurmountable. But then a thought rises, I have prepared, I have knowledge, and I am capable of delivering this message. That belief transforms their trembling hands into steady ones, their racing heart into courage, and their fear into focused energy. When belief is strong, fear cannot control your actions. It only becomes a shadow that proves how bright your light truly is in daily life. Fear shows up in subtle ways. A student hesitates to raise their hand in class, worried about being wrong. A job seeker delays submitting their application because they imagine rejection. A young entrepreneur puts off launching an idea because they cannot imagine success. Each of these fears has power only when belief is weak. The moment belief is cultivated, when the student trusts their knowledge, when the applicant trusts their skills, when the entrepreneur trusts their vision, fear begins to shrink. It becomes manageable, almost laughable. In comparison to the inner conviction that fuels action, imagine the athlete standing at the starting line, feeling the tension, the expectation, the fear of losing. If they focus on the possibility of defeat, fear will dominate and performance will falter. But when they focus on their preparation, their discipline, and their belief in their ability, fear transforms into adrenaline, into focus, into strength. The same principle applies to every area of life. Belief acts like a shield, not by erasing fear, but by reducing its power, allowing you to act decisively despite its presence. Consider the dialogue that often happens in our minds. What if I fail? What if I am embarrassed? What if they laugh at me? Now imagine a voice countering that, whispering courage, saying, I have what it takes. I am prepared. I am capable. The louder, stronger, and more persistent the voice of belief becomes, the softer fear becomes. Fear cannot win against belief because belief is anchored in reality, in preparation, in effort, and in faith in oneself. Fear is speculation, imagination, uncertainty. Belief is action, clarity, and confidence. When you strengthen belief, you weaken fear in the workplace. Fear can appear as hesitation to speak in meetings, reluctance to pitch ideas, or avoidance of responsibility. Yet the employee who believes in their abilities, who trusts in their knowledge and experience, finds that fear no longer dictates decisions. They raise their hand, share their insights, and take risks that others avoid. Belief transforms fear from an obstacle into a guide, highlighting areas where courage is needed and proving that confidence is the antidote to hesitation. Even in personal relationships, fear can be crippling. The fear of rejection, the fear of vulnerability, the fear of being misunderstood keeps people from expressing their true selves. When belief is strong, however, fear loses its hold. The person who believes in their worth and the value of honesty approaches relationships with courage. They communicate openly, express love without reservation, and stand firm in their integrity. Fear may still exist, but it no longer dominates decisions or limits growth. Look at the story of the artist who wants to display their work publicly but fears criticism. The fear is real and palpable. Yet, the belief that their creativity has value, that their vision deserves to be seen, drives them to exhibit their art. Critics may judge, some may not understand, but the belief in their own potential transforms fear into motivation, pushing them to reach an audience that appreciates and resonates with their work. In this way, belief turns fear into energy, into momentum, and into opportunity. Consider the student who hesitates to start a challenging project because it feels overwhelming. Fear magnifies the difficulty, showing obstacles that may not exist. Belief, however, focuses on capability, effort, and growth. It whispers, you are more than your challenges. You have resources, knowledge, and creativity to overcome this. With each step forward, fear diminishes, replaced by confidence and accomplishment. The stronger the belief, the less power fear holds over action. Fear often shows up as self-doubt, imagining the worst-case scenarios, magnifying obstacles, and paralyzing movement. Belief, on the other hand, reframes the situation, reminding us of preparation, skills, and the resilience we have developed. Consider a parent teaching a child to ride a bicycle. The child fears falling, but the parent instills belief. You can do this. I am with you. Trust yourself. With each attempt, belief grows, fear shrinks, and eventually the child rides without hesitation, experiencing freedom they could not have imagined while dominated by fear. Even in moments of uncertainty, belief is the compass that directs action. The job seeker who faces repeated rejection continues applying because belief says, I am qualified, I am capable, and the right opportunity will come. The writer who receives rejection letters continues to submit manuscripts because belief says, my story matters, and someone will read it. The entrepreneur who experiences setbacks continues to innovate because belief says, my vision has value, and I will find success. Fear exists, but belief is stronger. Everyday courage is born from this principle. The fear of failure, rejection, embarrassment, or uncertainty cannot dictate life when belief is cultivated. Belief does not deny fear, it overpowers it, diminishes it, and uses it as a measure of how strong the courage must be. The greater the fear, the more powerful belief must be, and when belief is strong enough, fear no longer stops action, no longer limits potential, and no longer controls destiny. So many people see mistakes as failures, as proof that they are not good enough, as evidence that they are incapable. They replay moments in their minds saying, I should not have done that. I failed again. I am not smart enough to succeed. But what if we changed the way we see mistakes? What if we understood that mistakes are not the end of the road, but the beginning of learning, growth, and new opportunities? Mistakes are not limitations. They are stepping stones that show us what we need to adjust, improve, and explore. Consider a child learning to write their first words. The letters are crooked. The spelling is wrong. The sentences are incomplete. If a parent says, you failed, try again, the child might feel discouraged. But when a parent says, look at what you learned, look at what you can do differently next time, the child sees the mistake as a guide. Every error becomes a teacher, every correction a lesson, and slowly the child develops the skill and confidence to write beautifully. This is the power of seeing mistakes as opportunities. Each misstep is a signal pointing to growth, not a verdict of worthlessness. In daily life, mistakes are everywhere. A student fails a test and thinks, I am not smart enough, yet when they review their answers, understand what went wrong, and adjust their study methods, the failure transforms into mastery. A young professional mismanages a project and fears the boss's disappointment. When they analyze the mistake, identify the gaps, and correct their approach, they emerge stronger, more competent, and more capable than before. Every mistake, when approached with the right mindset, becomes a ladder toward improvement. Consider the entrepreneur who launches a business that fails. The first instinct is to feel shame, to retreat, to avoid trying again. Yet the mistakes made in that failed venture, misjudging the market, miscalculating costs, underestimating time, become lessons for the next attempt. The second business is stronger, more resilient, more informed, because the entrepreneur treated the first failure not as a limitation, but as an opportunity to learn and refine their strategy. Mistakes are the universe's way of teaching us what works and what does not. If we are willing to listen, even in relationships, mistakes teach invaluable lessons. A miscommunication with a friend or partner might cause pain, frustration, or disappointment. But reflection on the situation can reveal areas where listening was needed, where empathy could have been stronger, or where boundaries were unclear. The mistake is not a sign of permanent failure, but a chance to build better understanding, trust, and communication. The people who grow stronger together are not the ones who never make mistakes, but those who see them as opportunities to improve and deepen the relationship. Look at the dialogue that often happens in our minds. Messed up, I can't fix this, it's too late. Imagine replacing that with, what can I learn from this? How can I do better next time? The shift in perspective changes everything. Mistakes no longer paralyze, they guide. They illuminate the path ahead, revealing areas that need attention, skills that need development, and insights that were previously hidden. Every great achiever, every innovator, every successful person has made countless mistakes, but they all share the mindset that mistakes are opportunities to refine, to grow, and to excel. Even small, daily examples show this principle. A cook burns a dish and thinks, I ruined it. Yet they taste it, adjust the spices, and next time create a meal that is better than ever before. A student miscalculates a math problem and says, I will never understand this. But by reviewing the process and understanding the mistake, they gain clarity and skill that will last a lifetime. A driver misses a turn and feels frustrated, yet they learn the road better, plan ahead, and avoid the same error in the future. Mistakes are teachers, not jailers. Mistakes are also opportunities for creativity and innovation. Imagine a scientist whose experiment fails repeatedly. Each failed attempt reveals something about the variables, the process, or the method. If they stop because of mistakes, the discovery never happens. If they treat mistakes as opportunities to learn, refine, and adjust, breakthroughs occur. The most important inventions, the greatest achievements in history, were born from repeated errors, trial and error, and the willingness to see mistakes as stepping stones rather than barriers. Consider the dialogue in moments of self-doubt. I can't do this. I keep failing. Now imagine replacing that inner conversation with, oh, I am learning, I am growing, each mistake brings me closer to success. The energy changes, the perspective shifts, and action becomes possible. Mistakes lose their power to discourage and instead become tools for progress. When we embrace mistakes as opportunities, we free ourselves from fear, shame, and hesitation, allowing growth, confidence, and resilience to flourish in the workplace. Mistakes are often seen as threats to reputation or security. Yet the employee who reflects on a mistake, communicates openly, and uses it to improve their processes, skills, or relationships becomes invaluable. Mistakes provide real-time feedback, showing where adjustments are needed, what habits must change, and how to strengthen abilities. The person who avoids mistakes out of fear never grows. The person who embraces them learns, evolves, and achieves excellence. Even in parenting, mistakes are lessons. A parent may lose patience, make a poor decision, or react emotionally. These moments, while challenging, are opportunities to model accountability, reflection, and growth to children. Admitting the mistake, explaining the lesson, and showing improvement teaches far more than perfection ever could. Children learn that mistakes are natural, that growth comes from reflection, and that every error contains a seed of opportunity. The young musician who hits the wrong note repeatedly does not give up. They adjust their technique, practice longer, and refine their skill. The writer whose paragraph is rejected by an editor revises with intention and insight. The student who fails a test studies harder, smarter, and with focus. Each mistake becomes a guide, pointing toward mastery, revealing areas for growth, and building resilience, patience, and determination. Mistakes are not permanent stains on your life. They are invitations to become better, stronger, wiser, and more capable. Every misstep is a lesson, every error a chance to improve, and every failure an opportunity to grow. The people who succeed are not those who never make mistakes, but those who embrace them, learn from them, and use them as stepping stones toward the extraordinary. When you truly believe in yourself, it is not just your life that changes, it is the lives of everyone around you. Confidence, courage, and conviction are contagious. People do not just notice belief in action, they are inspired by it. Think about the teacher who walks into a classroom filled with students who doubt their own abilities. The teacher does not just lecture, they demonstrate confidence, passion, and belief in the potential of each student. The students watch, they listen, and slowly they begin to believe in themselves too. Belief is not contained, it spreads like fire, touching everyone within reach. Consider a young professional who has just started a small project in a large office. Initially, colleagues may doubt their ability, their youth, or their experience. But when this professional works with determination, speaks with confidence, and follows through on promises, others begin to notice. The belief in oneself becomes a signal that inspires action in others. Teammates start to work harder, managers begin to trust more, and peers begin to see what is possible when someone refuses to doubt their own potential. Belief is not selfish, it is a ripple effect that influences the environment, the people, and the culture around you in daily life. Belief in yourself often shows up in small but powerful ways. Imagine a parent who believes in their ability to nurture and guide their child. The child may initially resist, complain, or test boundaries. But the parent's calm conviction, consistent support, and belief in the child's potential teaches resilience, confidence, and courage. Children mirror the attitudes they see. When they witness their parents' belief, they internalize it. They begin to trust their own abilities, explore new opportunities, and grow with a sense of possibility. Your self-belief becomes the foundation upon which others build their own confidence. Think about dialogue that often happens in groups or teams. Someone might say, "This is too hard, we can't do it, it's impossible." Then there is one person who quietly says, "I know we can, we just need to take the right steps." That belief in oneself shifts the energy of the group. Doubt loses power, momentum builds, and people begin to act with courage. The individual's self-belief becomes a catalyst for collective action. People follow leaders not just because of position, but because they see confidence, conviction, and belief that inspires them to rise above their own hesitation. Consider the coach believes in the ability of the team, even after a series of losses. The coach's faith is not blind, it is informed by preparation, knowledge, and persistence. Players begin to adopt the same mindset. They train harder, encourage one another, and push past previous limits. The belief of one person spreads, influencing a group to perform at levels they never imagined possible. Self-belief in action is powerful. because it gives permission to others to believe, to try, and to exceed expectations even in friendship. Believing in yourself inspires others. The friend who pursues dreams relentlessly, who overcomes challenges with courage, and who maintains faith in their own potential encourages others to do the same. Imagine a friend who starts a small business, learning, failing, and growing. Their journey becomes a silent lesson for those around them. People watch, they learn, they gain courage to pursue their own dreams. Belief does not just improve your life. It creates a culture of possibility, motivation, and hope. Look at the student who struggles academically but refuses to give up. Their belief in their capacity to improve encourages classmates to push beyond their limits. Teachers notice the perseverance and often feel inspired to teach with greater creativity and dedication. Belief is like light in darkness. It illuminates the path for others. Even a small act of self-confidence, like asking a question in class, presenting an idea in a meeting, or volunteering for a difficult task, becomes an example that motivates others to act courageously. Consider the dialogue within families. A young adult says, "I want to start something new, but I am not sure I can do it." A sibling, parent, or friend sees them take the first step with belief, saying quietly, "I trust you, you can do it." That belief becomes a mirror. It reflects back confidence, inspires courage, and empowers others to take action. The ripple effect is remarkable. One person's self-belief can influence an entire household, a circle of friends, or even a community in the workplace. Self-belief drives mentorship. A leader who believes in their own capabilities models decision making, problem solving, and resilience. Colleagues observe, learn, and emulate these behaviors. An employee who believes in themselves speaks up, contributes, and innovates. Their energy challenges others to believe in their own potential. Even if the results are small, the belief inspires others to act, to think bigger, and to strive for higher performance. Think about artists, writers, and performers. The individual who believes in their own voice encourages audiences to connect, engage, and dream. Their courage to express themselves authentically becomes a beacon. A musician playing passionately on a street corner, a writer sharing personal stories online, a speaker addressing a small audience with conviction. They all demonstrate the contagious power of self-belief. People watching begin to imagine, if they can, maybe I can too. The seed of inspiration is planted, nurtured by the confidence of another. Believing yourself also transforms communities. Consider someone volunteering, organizing, or leading with faith in their own ability to make a difference. Others see the impact, feel motivated, and contribute. One person's belief in their own influence inspires collective action. Belief is the spark that ignites courage, creativity, and initiative in others. It is not just personal growth, it is generational, communal, and societal transformation. Even everyday interactions carry this principle. The cashier who greets customers with confidence, the neighbor who pursues a passion despite doubt, the mentor who encourages growth, all of these acts born from self-belief influence others. Belief in oneself becomes a silent teacher, a guiding light, a source of inspiration that people may not even recognize, yet feel compelled to follow. So many people sabotage their own potential because they constantly compare themselves to others. They scroll through social media, glance at colleagues, or measure themselves against friends, thinking, "I am not enough. They are better than me. I will never achieve that." Comparison is a silent thief. It steals confidence. It diminishes joy. It clouds the vision of what you are truly capable of. When you compare yourself to someone else, you are no longer focused on your own journey, your own gifts, your own timing. You are measuring your beginning against someone else's middle or peak. And that is not only unfair, it is destructive. Consider the student who sees a classmate excel in mathematics and immediately believes they are inferior. Instead of focusing on their own learning process, they measure themselves against the other student's achievements. The result is discouragement, fear, and loss of self-belief. Yet, if that same student focused on their own strengths, acknowledged areas for improvement, and celebrated their progress, they would grow in confidence. Comparison blinds people to their own unique abilities. It convinces them that worth is determined by someone else's performance rather than their own potential in daily life. Comparison shows up in countless ways. A young professional may look at a colleague's promotion and think, "Oh, I am falling behind." A friend may see another friend's vacation photos and feel envy or inadequacy. A writer may scroll past a best-selling author's post and question their own talent. Every instance of comparison plants doubt and diminishes self-belief. The truth is, your journey is unique, your timing is different, and your path cannot be measured by someone else's milestones. When you compare, you are measuring your life with someone else's ruler, and no ruler fits all. Consider the dialogue that often happens in the mind. Why am I not as successful as them? Why can't I achieve what they achieved? Maybe I am not talented enough. Now imagine replacing that with, I am on my own journey. I have unique gifts and my timing is perfect for me. The difference is monumental. The first mindset breeds insecurity, fear, and stagnation. The second mindset breeds confidence, persistence, and growth. Comparison is the enemy of self-belief because it shifts focus from what you can control, your effort, your growth, your choices, to what you cannot control, other people's successes and circumstances. Think about a young athlete training alongside a prodigy. Every time they glance at the other person's speed, skill, or technique, their self-belief wavers. Yet, if they focus on their own progress, their own improvements, their own dedication, they see the gains they are making. Self-belief grows when attention is on personal development rather than others' achievements. Comparison is a trap that blinds people to their own growth, creating a cycle of frustration and self-doubt. While belief thrives in focus and self-awareness, even in relationships, comparison can erode confidence. A partner may look at another couple and think, why don't we have what they have? Instead of appreciating their own journey, their own love story, their own growth together. Friends may compare parenting styles or successes, thinking, I am failing. Yet each relationship, each family, each individual has unique circumstances, lessons, and timing. Comparison dismisses the value of personal experience and replaces it with judgment and doubt. Self-belief flourishes when you focus on your own life rather than measuring it against someone else's. Consider the dialogue of an aspiring artist. They have more followers, more recognition, more opportunities. Maybe I am not talented enough. Now imagine the inner voice shifting to, I have unique creativity, my work has value, and my journey is my own. Comparison dims the light of potential, but belief illuminates it. Every artist, every creator, every entrepreneur, every professional achieves success by focusing on their craft, their dedication, and their growth rather than measuring themselves against others. Comparison is a thief. Self-belief is a shield. Look at the young professional who hesitates to pitch ideas because colleagues are louder or more experienced. The inner thought says, they are better. I am not ready. Yet when they speak with their unique perspective, when they trust their experience, when they act with conviction, they inspire, influence, and contribute in ways no one else can. Self-belief grows when focus is on personal value and effort. Comparison is the enemy because it convinces people that someone else's path defines their worth, when in reality, each individual's value is inherent and unique, even in small moments. Comparison shows its destructive power. A person may hesitate to wear what they want, pursue a hobby, or voice an opinion because they are worried about how they measure up to others. Every time you focus on someone else's success, beauty, or achievements, you undermine your own. Yet, when you shift focus inward, when you appreciate your own growth, your own talents, and your own timing, you cultivate self-belief. It is a choice, a mindset, a commitment to honor your own journey. Consider the dialogue in classrooms, offices, and homes. Someone says, why didn't I get the award like them? Why isn't my life as exciting as theirs? Now imagine replacing that with, I am growing at my own pace. My accomplishments, my journey, and my timing are perfect for me. The mindset transforms self-doubt into confidence, frustration into motivation, and envy into appreciation. Comparison is the enemy of self-belief because it diverts attention, energy, and emotion from the one person who matters most in your success. Yourself, the young musician watching peers perform flawlessly, may feel inadequate, but when they focus on mastering their own instrument, they unlock potential that comparison could never reveal. The student struggling with grades may envy classmates, yet self-belief grows when they measure progress against themselves, celebrate small victories, and pursue improvement. The entrepreneur watching competitors succeed may feel fear, yet true growth happens when attention is on innovation, effort, and unique vision. Every time comparison creeps in, self-belief fades. Every time focus returns inward, confidence strengthens. Ultimately, comparison is a thief disguised as motivation. It convinces you that you are behind, less talented, or unworthy. Self-belief is freedom. It reminds you that your journey is unique, your timing is perfect, and your potential is limitless. It shifts focus from what others have to what you can achieve. It turns distraction into discipline, envy into empowerment, and doubt into determination. Confidence is not just a personal trait. It is a force that radiates outward, influencing everyone around you. When you carry yourself with conviction, when you speak with assurance, when your actions align with your belief in your own ability, people notice. Confidence has a magnetic quality. It draws others toward you, inspires them, and ignites a spark within them to believe in themselves. Think about the person walking into a room with posture upright, head held high, voice calm and deliberate. Without saying much, they command attention, respect, and curiosity. People feel it in the way they move, in the way they engage, in the energy they project. Consider the student who volunteers to present first in class. The classmates may feel nervous, unsure, or hesitant, but the student's confidence creates a sense of assurance in the room. Their classmates watch, they learn, and slowly they start to believe that they too can speak, express, and participate. Confidence is contagious because it creates a ripple effect. One person's belief in themselves shifts the energy, the perception, and the possibilities for everyone nearby. In daily life, confidence shows up in countless ways. The young professional who presents an idea in a meeting with clarity and poise often inspires colleagues to think bigger, speak up, and contribute more actively. The parent who calmly navigates challenges with children teaches resilience, courage, and self-trust. The friend who tackles a difficult situation head-on encourages others to face their own fears and doubts. Confidence is not just personal success, it is a silent lesson for others, demonstrating that action is possible, that fear can be overcome, and that potential can be realized. Consider the dialogue that often happens in a workplace. A team member says, "I don't know if we can achieve this goal. It seems too difficult." Another team member, confident in their skills and preparation, responds, "We can do this. We have the talent, the resources, and the strategy. Let's take it step by step." The room shifts, energy changes, doubt diminishes, momentum grows. Confidence is magnetic because it transforms not only the person who possesses it, but also the environment, the team, and the collective sense of possibility. Even in relationships, confidence influences dynamics. A partner who believes in their own worth and communicates openly creates a space where honesty, respect, and growth can flourish. Friends who approach life with assurance inspire others to pursue their own goals, voice their opinions, and act boldly. Consider a young artist sharing their work publicly for the first time. Their confidence, however small, attracts attention, feedback, and encouragement. Others are drawn to the courage displayed, and in witnessing it, they gain courage themselves. Confidence is a living example, teaching without words, motivating without demand. Think about the dialogue in social situations. Someone might feel unsure about joining a conversation, sharing an idea, or expressing a thought. When a confident person participates first, when they model authenticity, clarity, and courage, others are encouraged to follow. Confidence breaks barriers, shatters hesitation, and invites participation. The magnetic effect comes from the visible and palpable assurance that signals to others, "You too can act, you too can achieve, you too can shine." It is a demonstration of possibility in action. Consider the young athlete stepping onto the field. Their posture, determination, and focus communicate a message without words. "I am prepared, I am capable, I am ready." Teammates feel inspired, opponents respect, and the energy of the entire game shifts. Confidence is contagious because it transfers from one person to another through energy, presence, and example. It elevates performance, strengthens collaboration, and builds a culture of trust and belief in collective ability. Even in small daily actions, the magnetic power of confidence is evident. A cashier who greets customers with assurance and warmth creates a welcoming environment. A student who raises their hand with certainty encourages others to participate. A friend who speaks up in a group setting models courage that others emulate. Confidence is not loud or aggressive. It is quiet, steady, and visible through actions, posture, voice, and intention. People are drawn to it because it signals security, competence, and reliability, qualities that everyone admires and seeks. Consider the dialogue in moments of doubt. "I am not sure if I can do this. What if I fail?" Now imagine a voice of confidence saying, "I have prepared, I am capable, and I will act with focus." The difference in energy is profound. Not only does it empower the individual, it also influences those around them. Colleagues, friends, family, and even strangers respond to confidence with respect, trust, and sometimes courage of their own. It is a magnetic force because it signals capability, inspires action, and creates an environment where belief multiplies. In professional environments, confidence attracts opportunities. A team leader who acts decisively and with assurance draws collaborators, investors, and support. The energy of confidence signals that this is someone who can handle responsibility, overcome challenges, and achieve results. Even in everyday situations, confidence is noticed. The student who speaks clearly, the young professional who presents ideas effectively, the mentor who guides others with certainty. People are drawn to them, influenced by them, and inspired to rise to their own potential. Look at the young entrepreneur presenting a vision to a small audience. The audience feels the energy, the conviction, and the clarity. They are inspired not just by the words, but by the presence, the calm certainty, and the courage. Confidence is magnetic because it is visible, palpable, and influential. It touches people in ways that words alone cannot. One person's belief in themselves creates belief in others. One confident action motivates 1,000 hesitant hearts to move forward, to act, and to believe in their own capabilities. Even in ordinary life, confidence spreads. A neighbor facing a difficult challenge handles it with calm assurance, and others learn courage through observation. A teacher who believes in students' potential ignites curiosity, effort, and persistence in them. A friend who speaks openly about pursuing goals despite fear inspires others to take action. Confidence is contagious and magnetic because it creates a culture of possibility, courage, and action, demonstrating that belief in oneself is the starting point for inspiring belief in others. So many people misunderstand self-belief. They think it is about arrogance, about pride, about looking down on others or claiming to be better than anyone else. But true self-belief is awareness. It is knowing your value, understanding your strengths, and recognizing your potential without needing to prove it to anyone else. Awareness is calm, quiet, and confident. Arrogance is loud, defensive, and insecure. One builds, the other destroys. Awareness allows you to operate from a place of certainty and purpose, while arrogance isolates you, creating friction, doubt, and resistance. Consider the student who excels in a subject. Awareness of their ability allows them to answer questions with confidence, help peers when needed, and participate actively in class. They do not boast, belittle others, or seek attention. Their self-belief manifests as presence, composure, and contribution. Arrogance would push the same student to dominate discussions, dismiss others, or compare themselves constantly. Awareness respects others, arrogance diminishes them. Self-belief rooted in awareness is empowering, while arrogance is empty in daily life. Awareness shows up in small but profound ways. A professional who knows their skills and capabilities takes on challenges confidently, knowing their preparation and effort will guide them. They listen to colleagues, accept feedback, and collaborate effectively. An arrogant person in the same situation insists they are right, dismisses advice, and resists learning. Awareness allows growth, humility, and influence. Arrogance limits progress and damages relationships. The difference between the two is subtle in appearance but monumental in impact. Consider the dialogue that happens in our minds. I am capable, I know my strengths, and I am ready to act, versus I am better than everyone, I don't need help, I am always right. The first mindset opens doors, builds trust, and attracts opportunities. The second isolates, creates conflict, and invites failure. Self-belief as awareness is a steady compass guiding decisions and actions. Arrogance is a fragile shield hiding insecurity. When you operate from awareness, you acknowledge areas for improvement. You respect the abilities of others, and you pursue growth consciously and deliberately. Think about a coach guiding a team. A confident, self-aware coach understands their strategies, motivates the players, and adapts when necessary. They do not belittle mistakes or seek credit for every success. Their belief in their knowledge and ability creates respect, trust, and performance. An arrogant coach, however, demands attention, blames others for errors, and resists collaboration. Self-belief grounded in awareness builds teams, relationships, and influence. Arrogance destroys them. Awareness inspires action, confidence, and trust in those around you, even in friendships. Self-belief as awareness strengthens bonds. A friend who knows their own worth, acknowledges their strengths, and accepts their weaknesses can encourage, guide, and support others without diminishing them. They give space, listen attentively, and offer honest advice. Arrogance in the same context drives separation, judgment, and insecurity. People are drawn to those with calm, aware self-belief because it is stable, reliable, and inspiring. Arrogance repels because it is volatile, demanding, and unpredictable. Consider the dialogue of a young professional entering a challenging work environment. They think, I know my skills, I am prepared, I will contribute meaningfully. Versus, I am better than everyone else here, they should recognize me immediately. The first mindset demonstrates awareness, attracts mentorship, builds credibility, and produces results. The second is arrogance, creating tension, distrust, and resistance. Self-belief as awareness allows one to operate with clarity and confidence while respecting the environment, the people, and the process, even in creative pursuits. This principle is powerful. An artist aware of their talent works consistently, experiments, and grows without needing constant validation. They inspire others through effort and skill, not through boasting. Arrogance in the same field seeks recognition, dismisses critique, and alienates peers. Awareness of ability fosters collaboration, learning, and impact, while arrogance fosters isolation, stagnation, and envy. The distinction between confidence and conceit is subtle in appearance, but enormous in consequence. Look at the dialogue within families. A parent who understands their abilities, values, and responsibilities can guide children with calm authority. They lead by example, encourage growth, and nurture independence. A parent who is arrogant may control, criticize, or demand obedience to prove superiority. Self-belief as awareness empowers, inspires, and teaches. Arrogance limits, frightens, and alienates. The lesson is clear. Knowing your value does not require proving it to anyone. It requires operating with integrity, clarity, and respect in daily interactions. Self-belief grounded in awareness manifests as quiet confidence. The cashier who handles difficult customers with patience and composure demonstrates competence without ego. The student who presents ideas in class with clarity inspires peers without boasting. The friend who supports others through challenges shows leadership without claiming superiority. Awareness communicates capability and reliability. Arrogance communicates insecurity and neediness. One attracts influence, respect, and trust. The other drives doubt, resentment, and opposition. Consider moments of challenge. When confronted with criticism or obstacles, awareness responds thoughtfully, learns, and adapts. Arrogance reacts defensively, blames others, and resists learning. Self-belief as awareness is humble but strong, adaptable but confident. It operates from a place of clarity, purpose, and discernment. Arrogance masks fear with bravado, creating instability and diminishing potential. Awareness is the quiet engine that drives achievement, influence, and respect in all areas of life. The young entrepreneur launching a new business demonstrates this daily. Awareness of skills, planning, and persistence allows measured risks, learning from mistakes, and inspiring partners and employees. Arrogance would demand instant recognition, dismiss challenges, and resist collaboration. The difference is remarkable. Awareness grows, inspires, and sustains. Arrogance collapses under pressure, alienates allies, and blocks growth. True self-belief is rooted in knowing who you are, what you can do, and how to improve, not in comparing, competing, or boosting. Even in ordinary life, awareness shapes outcomes. A neighbor handling community issues with patience and clarity demonstrates competence without arrogance. A teacher guiding students with belief in their abilities communicates inspiration without intimidation. A friend solving problems or offering guidance does so from understanding, not superiority. Self-belief as awareness radiates quietly, draws respect naturally, and influences others positively, while arrogance forces attention, creates resistance, and diminishes trust. Awareness recognizes limits, acknowledges strengths, and encourages growth in oneself and others. Arrogance denies limitations, exaggerates strengths, and discourages collaboration. Self-belief as awareness is magnetic, steady, and inspiring. It opens doors, builds relationships, and empowers communities. Arrogance isolates, destabilizes, and diminishes potential. The principle is clear. True self-belief is never about proving anything to anyone. It is about knowing, growing, and operating from a place of clarity and purpose. So many people live life as if they are characters in someone else's story. They let circumstances, other people's opinions, past mistakes, or social expectations dictate who they are and what they can become. They ask, why did this happen to me? Or I am not like them. And they allow these thoughts to control their identity and their purpose. But the truth is, the moment you take ownership of your story, no one else can define your life. Owning your story is the act of reclaiming power, responsibility, and vision. It is saying, this is my life, these are my experiences, and I will use them to shape my future. Consider the student who grew up in a home with limited resources. They could see wealthier classmates and feel envy, resentment, or inferiority. If they let those circumstances define them, they may believe, I can never succeed like them. But when they own their story, acknowledging the struggles, the lessons, and the unique experiences that shape them, they discover perspective, resilience, and insight. They define their purpose by using their story as fuel, not as a limitation. Their past becomes a teacher, not a jailer, and their life becomes an original narrative that only they can write in daily life. Owning your story requires honesty. It requires confronting the pain, mistakes, failures, and victories of your past without denial or blame. Consider a professional who faced repeated failures in their career. Instead of saying, I was unlucky, they acknowledge the challenges, the missteps, and the lessons learned. This ownership allows them to craft a career path with intention, insight, and purpose. Each setback becomes a chapter, each failure a plot point that guides their decisions. The story is theirs, and they control how it unfolds. Even relationships reflect this principle. A person who has been hurt, betrayed, or misunderstood may feel defined by these experiences. But by owning their story, they shift from victimhood to authorship. They say, I acknowledge my past, I understand what happened, and I will create my relationships with clarity and purpose. The narrative of pain becomes a narrative of empowerment, teaching boundaries, compassion, and discernment. Others may have influenced your story, but only you can determine how it shapes your future interactions and your sense of worth. Consider the dialogue in the mind of someone who faced rejection. They didn't hire me, I must not be good enough. Now imagine replacing that with, this experience taught me what I need to improve. It clarified my path, and it prepared me for the right opportunity. Owning your story transforms interpretation. Experiences are no longer arbitrary or controlling, but deliberate and instructive. You define meaning, purpose, and direction. Your story becomes the compass that guides your actions rather than the chain that holds you back. Look at the young athlete who struggled with injuries, lost games, and criticism. They could blame coaches, teammates, or circumstance, letting the story of setbacks dictate their confidence and performance. Instead, by owning the story, acknowledging the struggle, the hard work, the growth, they convert pain into preparation. Each injury teaches resilience, each loss teaches strategy, and each criticism teaches humility. Their story, once a source of limitation, now defines their purpose: to compete, to persevere, and to inspire others through action and determination in creative pursuits. This principle is equally powerful. A writer, musician, or artist who faced repeated rejection can let the story of failure define them, convincing themselves that they lack talent. Or they can own their story, embracing every critique, every rejection, and every lesson learned, and craft their work with deeper insight, passion, and originality. Their narrative, once perceived as a barrier, becomes a source of authenticity, voice, and influence. The art they produce is infused with the power of experience, and their story becomes the foundation for purpose-driven expression. Even in small moments, owning your story changes interactions. Consider a young professional who faced workplace discrimination. They could remain silent, let frustration fester, and allow the story to define them as powerless. Or they could acknowledge the injustice, learn the lessons, and assert their value with clarity, determination, and respect. The story becomes a tool for advocacy, leadership, and influence. Every experience, whether positive or painful, holds lessons and opportunities for defining your trajectory. Look at family life. A parent who struggled growing up may feel unprepared or inadequate. By owning their story, acknowledging hardships, and reflecting on the lessons learned, they shape parenting with intention, empathy, and insight. Their story is not a weight, but a guide, helping them model resilience, determination, and self-belief for their children. What could have been a cycle of limitation becomes a blueprint for legacy, purpose, and impact. Owning your story allows you to define your influence on others, extending beyond yourself. Consider the dialogue that often arises in moments of fear. I have failed too many times. My past is too heavy. I cannot succeed. Now imagine the voice of ownership saying, I know my past, I understand my journey, and I will use it to create my future. Every step, mistake, and victory is mine to learn from. Owning your story does not erase mistakes or pain, but it transforms them into intentional lessons. It turns regret into wisdom, fear into courage, and doubt into clarity. The story is yours, and you are empowered to write the chapters ahead. Even in community and leadership, this principle holds. A leader who owns their story shares lessons, insight, and vision with authenticity. People are drawn not to perfection, but to honesty, courage, and clarity. By embracing the journey, leaders inspire action, resilience, and self-belief in others. The story is not just personal, it becomes a vehicle for influence, mentorship, and transformation. Every life experience once owned becomes a source of guidance, inspiration, and direction. Consider the dialogue in moments of uncertainty. I don't know if I am ready, I am not enough, my story is flawed. Now replace that with, I have lived, I have learned, I have grown, and I am capable of defining my purpose. The awareness of ownership creates confidence, vision, and clarity. Each person becomes the author of their life, shaping identity, decisions, and destiny. Owning your story is a declaration of freedom, a statement of responsibility, and a foundation for purposeful living. It allows you to define who you are, what you value, and how you contribute to the world. Everyday examples reinforce this. The neighbor overcoming challenges, the friend recovering from setbacks, the student navigating obstacles, the professional learning from mistakes. Each of them owns their story to shape their life. Each action, reflection, and choice is rooted in awareness and responsibility. The story becomes a tool for intentional living rather than a cage of circumstance. Through ownership, life transforms from reactive to deliberate, from uncertain to purposeful, and from ordinary to extraordinary. As we come to the close of this message, I want you to take a moment and reflect on the incredible power that lies within you, the untapped potential that has been waiting for your courage to claim it, the dreams that have been whispering to you, calling you to rise. Too often, we look outside ourselves for validation, for approval, for permission, and in that search, we miss the truth. The key to greatness has always been within. I want you to hear this clearly. Your life, your purpose, your destiny cannot be given by anyone else. It cannot be dictated by circumstance, by critics, or by the limitations others place upon you. It is yours, uniquely yours, to claim, to shape, and to live boldly. Remember the words of Walt Disney, who said, "All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them." Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something else is more important than fear, and that something is your life, your calling, your mission. Think of Thomas Edison, who failed 1,000 times before he invented the light bulb. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." What if he had let failure define him, let doubt silence him, let comparison to others convince him he was inadequate? The world would have been robbed of light. Your mistakes, your setbacks, your struggles are not signs of defeat. They are your teachers, guiding you toward the mastery, the wisdom, and the clarity you need to achieve greatness. Each time you fall, each time you are challenged, each time someone doubts you, remember that these moments are not roadblocks. They are the very stepping stones to your destiny. Each challenge is the universe inviting you to rise, to discover your strength, and to show the world what is possible when you refuse to quit. I want you to consider the story of J.K. Rowling, who was rejected by countless publishers before Harry Potter finally saw the light of day. She was living in struggle, facing despair. But she believed in herself, in her story, in her vision. She took ownership of her journey, turned her pain into purpose, and now millions of lives have been inspired, transported, and transformed by her courage. What does this teach you? It teaches you that no matter how many times you are told no, no matter how many doors seem closed, your belief in yourself is the most important yes you will ever hear. It teaches you that your story, when owned and pursued with faith and determination, has the power to touch countless lives far beyond what you could ever imagine. Remember the words of Les Brown, "Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars." When you believe in yourself, when you refuse to let fear, doubt, or comparison define your limits, you elevate your possibilities. You rise above mediocrity, you break through barriers, and you inspire those around you. People do not just follow vision, they follow belief. They do not just respect talent, they are drawn to courage. The energy of self-belief is magnetic. It pulls opportunities, allies, and possibilities toward you. It signals to the world that you are ready, that you are capable, and that you refuse to settle for less than the life you were created to live. Think of Nelson Mandela, who spent decades in prison, yet never lost faith in his vision for freedom. He said, "I never lose. I either win or learn." His belief in himself and his mission and in the justice of his cause inspired a nation, changed history, and continues to inspire generations. Your life, no matter how small or ordinary it may feel today, has the potential to inspire, to influence, and to leave a legacy that outlives you. Owning your story, believing in your abilities, And refusing to surrender to fear or limitation is how you become a force that moves the world. Look at the ordinary people in everyday life who achieve extraordinary things because they believed. The mother who works tirelessly to provide, yet teaches her children resilience and faith. The teacher who stays after class to ensure every child understands and grows. The entrepreneur who faces rejection but continues to innovate. The neighbor who lifts the community through small acts of courage and service. All of them understood a profound truth. Greatness begins with belief, with ownership of your story, and with the refusal to let circumstances, critics, or fear define your path. You too can be that person. You too can rise, inspire, and leave a mark that matters. Remember the words of Oprah Winfrey. The biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams. Your dreams are not accidental. They are planted in your heart to guide you, to ignite your purpose, and to challenge you to step beyond comfort into courage. Every skill you have, every lesson you've learned, every challenge you faced is preparing you for the next chapter. The question is, will you take ownership? Will you rise above doubt, fear, and comparison? Will you trust the story that only you can write, the life that only you can live, the legacy that only you can leave? Think of your life as a canvas, your experiences as the colors, your choices as the brush strokes. When you stop allowing others to hold the brush, when you step forward with conviction, creativity, and courage, you create a masterpiece. Mistakes, failures, and setbacks become shades that add depth, texture, and meaning. Victories, lessons, and resilience become highlights that draw attention and inspire admiration. Owning your story is the key to painting your life with purpose, passion, and power. It is the secret to leaving a legacy that influences generations, a story that others will look to for guidance, inspiration, and courage. Consider the words of Steve Jobs. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Your story, your life, your purpose, your contribution are intertwined. When you own your journey, when you embrace your past, when you act with self-belief and courage, you are empowered to create impact, to inspire others, and to achieve fulfillment. Greatness is not reserved for a few. It is claimed by those who dare to own their story, to trust themselves, and to act boldly. Think of each day as a new chapter, each choice as a sentence, each action as a paragraph. You are the author, the hero, and the visionary of your life. Your story matters, your voice matters, your purpose matters. You have been equipped with everything you need to succeed, to inspire, and to leave a legacy. The world is waiting for your courage, your clarity, and your belief. Do not allow fear, doubt, or the opinions of others to delay your greatness. Take ownership, step forward with faith, and let your life become the living testimony of courage, resilience, and inspiration. Remember the words of Les Brown once again. You must be willing to do the things today others won't do, in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. Your story, your life, your purpose is calling you to act now, to believe fully, to rise beyond limitation, and to inspire those around you. The time is now, the power is yours, and the world is waiting for the courage, clarity, and brilliance that only you can bring.